So a little bit of breaking news this morning, and no, Ja Morant wasn't secretly traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. It appears that Victor Wembanyama of the San Antonio Spurs is actually going to be out for the rest of the season. This is absolutely, without a doubt, 100% devastating news for the San Antonio Spurs, Victor himself, and the rest of the NBA community, because let's face it, outside of Steph Curry and SGA, Wembanyama was one of the only other players who really, and I do mean really, played hard in this year's NBA All-Star game. Now, Wemby is sidelined because of a shoulder injury. He came back from the All-Star game with some soreness in his shoulder. Turns out he actually has a blood clot in his shoulder, which basically means he's going to be treated with blood thinners, which also means you're not going to be allowed to actually work out when you're actually on blood thinners. Hence, Wembanyama's season is over at this point. And certainly that is devastating news, both for the NBA community as well as Victor Wembanyama himself. Now, Wemby clearly, without a doubt, was actually going to be this year's Defensive Player of the Year. And this, quite frankly, is one of the problems with the NBA and some of its new rules, which are actually encouraging players to actually, if you will, play more games. This is not Wemby's fault. Yet he does not have enough games under his belt to actually win the award this year. Outside of that, the San Antonio Spurs were entering today actually with 23 wins and 29 losses, and we're currently sitting in 12th spot in the Western Conference, with the Golden State Warriors sitting there with a refreshed Jimmy Butler on their team at 28 and 27. So the likelihood of, if you will, Victor Wembanyama, a healthy Victor Wembanyama, and the San Antonio Spurs actually climbing all the way to the top of play-in mountain was certainly unlikely for the San Antonio Spurs at this point. I guess, if anything, they'll just have to retool and get ready again for next season. Now, with De'Aaron Fox on the San Antonio Spurs now, not all is lost. It's just going to be a different style of basketball without Wemby actually there, who certainly was having a hell, if you will, of a sophomore season, averaging over 24 points, 11 boards, some 3 assists a game, as well as 3.8 blocks per game. That is this year. And I have to say, I thought Wemby was playing hard, despite the changes that were going on with the San Antonio Spurs organization. And we have to remember, this Western Conference is just brutally good. And there are so many good teams. Even the bad teams, like the Portland Trailblazers, are actually pretty good this year. Utah's been phoning it in for a while, but still, they will play hard night in and night out. Same can be said for the absolutely injury-prone New Orleans Pelicans. So the Spurs are going to have to go the rest of the season, as you all know at this point, without Victor Wembanyama. And it is, I have to repeat this, I do mean highly unlikely that the San Antonio Spurs team comes even close to sniffing play-in mountain at all. Remember, you got to get to that 10th spot to actually get there. Finally, I want to ask you a question. What do you think? Do you think the NBA needs to lighten its belt, so to speak, or should I say loosen its belt, when it comes to these awards that they're going to give out at the end of the season? Because it is as clear as water is wet that Wembanyama was and still most likely from a statistical perspective will be the best defensive player in the NBA when the season is done. What are we going to end up with? Is another Rudy Gobert Defensive Player of the Year award when everybody and their sister and their brother and their fifth cousin that they don't even talk to on Thanksgiving knows that Victor Wembanyama clearly is the Defensive Player of the Year? All right, drop your comments in when you have a chance. As always, for the NBA Rundown, I'm Dave Dpoy.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.